Today on UW 360, technology meets poetry in an innovative new art form. Plus, talking t-shirts and singing posters. See how UW researchers are striving to make everyday objects speak. Also, how UW neurologists are bringing new hope and relief to patients with Parkinson's disease. And leaping lumberjacks, log rolling is making a comeback on campus. All on today's UW 360. Hi everyone, from the University of Washington, I'm Carolyn Douglas. Welcome to UW 360. The University of Washington has proudly supported generations of Northwest poets, and today's poets are publishing their work in some truly innovative ways. Stacy Sakamoto introduces us to some campus wordsmiths who are using video and other technology to bring their words to life.
The hand that had its work cut out for it was cut out for its work.
Amaranth Borsuk is part of the new generation of poets on the University of Washington campuses. The UW Bothell assistant professor performs and publishes her work.
I think of poetry as a close engagement with language.
Her books are eye-catching and playful.
As the reader is turning the pages, they see the poems begin to mutate and move. They grow like a flip book.
Some of her books incorporate technology. She's the co-author of Abra, which includes an interactive app.
All of the text is available to the reader to remix, to re-navigate, and to edit and make their own. So the text really wants to push away from our control of it as authors and belong to the reader, who can use the tip of their finger to prune away language, closing up holes in the text, to erase words out of the text.
Her first book used augmented reality. Between Page and Screen was a collaboration with a software developer. It requires the reader use a web camera to access the content.
The book Between Page and Screen doesn't contain any text. Instead, it has these black and white geometric shapes.
The webcam deciphers those shapes, revealing Borsuk's poems.
And it's only when the page and the screen meet that the poems appear. Dear P, I take your point. I didn't mean to cut, but it's my stripe, my type. I'd rather shear than share.
The University of Washington has a rich history of poetry. A lecture auditorium in Kane Hall was named in memory of English professor Theodore Rothke, who won the Pulitzer Prize for Poetry in 1954.
And then a gang of villains attacked you with an arsenal of sticks.
Today's poets come from other disciplines. Troy Osaki is a UW Ethnic Studies graduate whose recent composition, Year of the Dragon, evokes the memory of Bruce Lee.
I was born in the year of the dragon.
Do you see the boy in the corner? Yeah. The one with the prettiest blue eyes.
Another spoken word performer, Nikita Oliver, is a graduate of the UW School of Law. Her video poem, Black Lives Matter, was recorded in front of Suzzallo Library.
To remind myself that my life matters too. The room cannot hear him.
To manifest.
Although they share their work using 21st century technology, today's UW poets, like their predecessors, are artists and wordsmiths.
I always say to people who think poetry is not for them that they just haven't found the right kind of poetry yet, that there is a poetry out there for any reader. But the hand was not depressed. It had simply forgotten the metal sheen that drew it to screw itself up in the first place.
Amaranth Borsuk is working on another project about the changing technology of books. Still to come, documenting Seattle's role in the minimum wage movement. Meet some UW students who are working to make sure today's issues are accurately reported for future generations to study. And t-shirts that truly make a statement. The talking shirts and singing posters that are generating headlines for a team of UW researchers. Plus, log rolling makes a splash on campus again as UW 360 rolls on.
The following UW360 story is made possible by the generous support of BECU. BECU, more than just money.
Welcome back to UW360. Imagine a concert poster that could sing its message to you, or a t-shirt that could tell you just how fast your heart was racing while you worked out. Thanks to a team of UW engineers, that concept is fast becoming reality. They've managed to demonstrate for the first time how everyday objects outside, like signs and shirts, can essentially be turned into tiny FM radio stations. Like any great idea, it started with a question.
You know, you walk up to a poster now and all you see is, whatever image is there. What if you could just walk up and then actually hear that music?
That was the question that UW doctoral student Vikram Iyer and his team of fellow engineers tackled for months deep inside the Paul Allen Computer Science and Engineering building. They were determined to prove that by tapping into FM radio waves around us, they could make a sign or poster speak and even sing.
Specifically, we're taking FM radio signals that are broadcast from the big towers that we see all around cities, and we're encoding our own information on top of that. This is just a song that we heard.
Vikram and his team have, for the first time, demonstrated how to apply a technique called backscattering to outdoor FM radio signals. They've developed a new way of communication where they can send information by reflecting FM radio signals that are already traveling in the air around us, using almost zero battery power and without disrupting the original radio signal. Vikram showed us how it works with this concert poster for the band Simply 3. He walks to within several feet of the poster, which has a copper antenna behind it, tunes his phone to the right radio station, and then hears the band's message. For Vikram and his research partner Anran Wang, that is the sweet sound of success.
We can imagine that in the future that every poster can send music to our phones. It is very exciting.
Here you could actually hear the music, right? And you know that, okay, I'm sending this thing and I'm actually hearing what I'm supposed to.
It's a powerful new tool in the race to smarten our cities.
John Anderson, you could use a Guinness right about now. East Stevens Way.
Imagine signs that could tell you a street's name, or warning signs that could sound an alarm to people who can't see.
So you can see there's this pattern here.
Or what about a t-shirt that could actually talk to you by sensing your vital signs during a workout and then transmitting that data straight to your cell phone?
These are objects that are all around us, and we wanted to see if we could add some kind of interactivity or a different dimension to these kinds of things.
But in an increasingly noisy world, will people want their signs and shirts to talk? Vikram says they just may need to hear it for themselves.
It really enriches the experience rather than just seeing a picture that doesn't tell you very much. You could actually hear what it sounds like.
Encouraging our tuned in and tuned out world to not just see a message, but really hear it as well. The team has demonstrated that their singing poster at a bus stop can transmit a sample of the band's music and an advertisement for the band to a smartphone that's 12 feet away or a car that's more than 60 feet away. That's just one of many amazing ideas that have sprouted here in the Seattle area. Grunge, espresso carts, fiberglass skis, not to mention international companies like Boeing and Microsoft, were of course all homegrown. And Seattle is also getting a lot of credit for another movement that's gaining ground around the country, the battle to raise the minimum wage. Austin Siedentoff talks with a group of UW student researchers who are recording the detailed history of this idea that may be coming to a ballot box near you.
All of our workers from coast to coast need at least $15 an hour.
It's an idea that is both heavily supported
I would not raise the minimum.
Seattle shouldn't have to do this.
and an idea that has been criticized.
All parking lot attendants disappeared and McDonald's rolled out self-automation burger machines.
I hate to say it, but we have to leave it the way it is.
The $15 minimum wage, that the first time in the entire country where it was passed through a ballot measure was in SeaTac. And that's really exciting, right? It didn't occur in a big city like New York City or Los Angeles, but it happened in a little town right near an airport.
Today, Riddhi Mehta-Neugebauer is interviewing grad student activist and writer for The Daily, Rod Palmquist, for the SeaTac and Seattle Minimum Wage History Project.
I just have this thirst to find out as much information that is really critical to the success of historic movements and trying to document and record that.
Rod's interview will be added to the project's collection of stories behind the start of the minimum wage campaign in SeaTac and how it began to spread.
We interviewed over 60 people who were involved in the campaign. Some were advocates, some were opponents. We also put together a timeline that catalogs the evolution of the minimum wage across the country.
I'm beyond ecstatic and beyond words that the Supreme Court ruled that we get 15.
You can't go forward without having somebody from restaurants involved in the process, because restaurant employees are typically paid below the minimum wage or below $15.
So I think these stories are important to collect because labor typically doesn't have time to reflect and think about what they've just done.
I think it's collaborate or fail. That we are in this together, and so it was sort of an 11th hour victory that we reached.
I think it's very important to have that moment and take that time to collect the varying perspectives and try to process them and try to listen to them and try to understand, well, what were some of the larger lessons that could be learned from this?
Here's what I can promise you, is that the economy of the future will be different than the economy of the past, and worker power will take a different form in the future than it took in the past.
Other cities, Los Angeles, for instance, New York, the presidential campaigns are talking about how viable 15 would be. So it's really great and really exciting to think about that this all started right here and that we were able to capture some of those stories and some of those narratives in the web archive as well.
Only time will tell where the conversation goes on a national level. But in the meantime, the UW Labor Archive's Minimum Wage History Project is continuing to make dozens of interviews, documents, and imagery from the SeaTac and Seattle campaigns available online at the UW Digital Collections. Still ahead, how UW neurologists are bringing new hope to patients living with the debilitating effects of Parkinson's disease. And get ready to make a splash as we go log rolling on the UW campus as UW 360 continues.
Support for UW 360 is provided by the Labor Archives of Washington. Learn more about researching at the Labor Archives and donating collections at laborarchives.org.
This portion of UW 360 is presented by UW Medicine Neurosciences Institute.
Welcome back to UW 360. An estimated 1 million people in this country are living with Parkinson's disease. And thanks to the work of physicians from the UW Medicine Neurosciences Institute, some patients are finding relief from their symptoms with a procedure called deep brain stimulation.
Parkinson's is a progressive degenerative disease, and the first time I was told that, it was like a slap in the face.
Hi, Suzanne. How are you?
But
Good.
Suzanne Tidingfong is fighting back thanks to a powerful right hook.
And I found that I have a hard right. I can hit with my right.
And the care provided by the UW Medicine Neurosciences Institute. Suzanne was diagnosed in 2010. She didn't have tremors that some patients with Parkinson's or essential tremors experience, but she did have other symptoms, including pain, which she was able to control with medication. but after 5 years, the medication stopped working. It's hard to believe it when you see her boxing, but she says any movement was painful.
Previously, I had gone on with this motto for Parkinson's that I had Parkinson's, but Parkinson's did not have me. At that point, I had come to the conclusion that Parkinson's totally had me. I could not imagine going on that way.
Put your elbows out like this, nice and strong for me.
At certain points, we get to a stage where the patient is no longer responsive to our powerful, symptomatically improving medications.
Okay, good job. And then we'll put your palms in your lap like this.
And at that point, UW Medicine Neurosciences Institute comes to the rescue. Neurosurgeons are trained to work with neurologists to evaluate these patients and to select a small number of them that are great candidates for something that sounds very unusual but is a tremendously helpful strategy, which we call deep brain stimulation.
One of the neurosurgeons at the UW Medicine Neurosciences Institute, Dr. Andrew Koh, performed the procedure on Suzanne, implanting an electrode in her brain while she was asleep.
What surgery can offer is a way to alleviate some of those symptoms. We can often reduce medications that patients have to take, but the goal of treatment is to restore functionality, so to improve their motor function, to have them be less disabled by their symptoms, and improve their quality of life.
It basically runs a test from...
Suzanne sees nurse practitioner Courtney Weaver for regular follow-up visits. In addition to monitoring Suzanne's condition, Weaver also checks the patient programmer. It's about the size of a remote control, and it allows Suzanne to deliver the deep brain stimulation, or DBS for short.
As it starts to wear down, then I will increase my DBS so that it compensates for that and it keeps a good balance to help manage my symptoms.
She's definitely somebody who has really embraced the autonomy that you can have with deep brain stimulation.
Nice job.
And that has really helped her feel like she's owning her own care.
With the pain under control, Suzanne took up boxing.
They told me that it helps with the progression of the disease and it helps lessen your symptoms. And I didn't believe it. You know, I just thought, okay, sure, I enjoy it, I'm going to do it, but I don't really think I'm going to have that dramatic of effect. The next day, my symptoms were so much reduced. Just like that. DBS has given me a new lease on life. It's a gift.
Suzanne works out in the boxing ring in Arlington twice a week, and she says it's made such a difference for her that she's hoping gyms in other communities will also start offering classes for Parkinson's patients. Straight ahead, see why this lumberjack challenge is making such a splash on campus as UW 360 continues. Welcome back to UW 360. UW's Intramural Activities Building, or IMA, is where students, faculty, and staff head to work out. Whether you're looking to seriously feel the burn or just blow off some steam, the IMA likes to say that it has something for everyone, even aspiring lumberjacks. Austin Siedenthoff reports.
Students, faculty, and staff use the Intramural Activities Building, or IMA, to stay in shape, play intramural sports, and blow off steam. And now they have a new way to work out.
All 6 are going to get out there and roll.
Competitive log rolling.
Roll.
Going backwards is easier for me than forwards, so I try and keep that. But other than that, that's pretty much try and outlast the person next to me.
We're competing against 10 other people, and then whoever beats the most people wins.
Right, if you have a no-show.
IMA Aquatics and Safety Manager Justin Berry started teaching log rolling classes in 2016 and is now hosting log rolling tournaments.
It's just kind of a joyful experience, right? I mean, you're essentially playing. You're competing, but you're playing. And I think, and that's what we see pretty much every time. Like, you could be going against someone, and then you fall off, and they're still going against someone else, and they're giving them tips, they're coaching them. It's just a really positive activity.
I would definitely say it's a workout. Not only is
the actual act of like log rolling workout, but getting up onto the log consecutively again and again kind of like puts a strain on your body for sure.
Balancing takes a lot of muscles in your back, and it really is not until you fall off that you realize how out of breath you are.
Even just holding the log, that gives you like a serious forearm workout, like you wouldn't imagine.
Log rolling may be new to the IMA, but logging goes back well over a century in Washington State. Log rolling was only a matter of course. And it's not even that new to the UW.
Wait, can we do that in Drumheller Fountain now? That would be awesome.
Gone are the bark and splinters of wooden logs. The IMA brings a twist to the old sport with new synthetic logs that Justin says make everything possible.
Because you can't have a 500-pound cedar log in your swimming pool because it's going to be shedding splinters. It just doesn't logistically work. IMA log rolling champion 2017, Elizabeth. Good job. You do what's fun, right? And so if we bring something that's fun, then we'll have more people in to enjoy the IMA.
Yeah, I think I would do this if it was like a team or tournament. It's pretty fun.
You'd be surprised how quickly you'll catch on and learn. There are people here today that started literally today and at the beginning couldn't stand up, and now they're up there with other people. Don't be intimidated. Give it a try.
And do log rolling.
The good news, Austin says the IMA will be expanding its log rolling program with more classes, open rolling, and tournaments. The bad news, unfortunately, the IMA is only for UW students, faculty, and staff. But we're guessing it won't be long before log rolling comes to an exercise pool near you. And that does it for this edition of UW 360. If you'd like more information on any of the stories you saw today, just head to our website at uwtv.org/UW360. You can also find us on Facebook and Twitter. I'm Carolyn Douglas. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time with all new stories from the University of Washington.